Hey everyone, Ma'am Tamar here, and this is going to be my second Q&A video. I'm going to be starting off with a question by Tempe Ibis. He asked me what I think of the Ouya system. Before he sent me this question, I'd never even heard of the system. So I looked it up on the internet, saw a video by IGN, and the system has caught my interest. The pricing is fair. It's not competing with Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. It's strictly based on Android. And two companies have already, claimed that they're going to make some games for the console. Namco and Square Enix. Now, based on graphics for the games, I'll wait until I see further before deciding if I'll buy it right on the opening day or wait a few months. I mean, I definitely intend on buying the system based on the information I've heard, because it's caught my, it's rather intriguing. The controller, it's a combination of both a regular basic controller and a touchscreen. It's got the buttons, the bumpers, D-pad, and as I mentioned, touchscreen in the middle, I assume. So it's going to be set for a spring 2013 release. My guess, to be more, narrow margin for it, it would be April 2013. Not entirely sure, but I know it's going to be before the summer of 2013. I look forward to finding more information on the system. Based on the size, I have not seen the physical system, but based on the image alone, it looks like it's going to be about half the size of a GameCube. I mean, in my interpretation, I believe that's how it would look in size, but based on the square design. And I believe it could, in fact, save the gaming industry. More so the console-based, because with the smartphones producing out games these days, I have found myself buying a lot more smartphone games within a year's time than console games. The only games I've bought this year, right off the top of my head, would be The Amazing Spider-Man, the Tekken Hybrid, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and earlier this week I paid off my pre-order for Resident Evil 6 Anthology, which also includes the full DLC games for Resident Evil 1 through 5. So, I mean, I definitely hope that the console is successful and that more companies come forward and produce games for the system, and that the graphics, differ from each company. I mean, each company has their own style. I just hope it's not based on the screen captures I've seen, that it's not blocky based. I mean, I haven't seen any spectacular graphics from the IGN video. I'm just optimistic that things will improve over time. So, yeah, so I definitely have an optimistic outlook for this console. And moving on to the next question, which is by the Birdman 16. His first one is, what video game series do I think is going to fade away in the next couple of years? Two that come to mind are the Call of Duty franchise and the Rock Band games. Both of them because they're not, in my personal opinion, coming up with anything new. When it comes to Rock Band games, it looks typically the same style. Like, you've got the layout of the lines, bars, so to speak, with the icons that are down below that you're supposed to press when they appear. The only thing that's different about it is the music. Nothing really original with that series at all. It's just same design, different music. For Call of Duty, nothing is ever thought up for being new, so to speak. I mean, it's typically the same first-person shooter. You're going out on the screen, you're killing the enemies. I don't see anything added to where it's specifically pointing out that here is some new features for the game to differ from what happened in this prior game. I mean, nothing stands out when it comes to those two game series. So that's why I believe, in my personal opinion, they're going to fade out. They're not going to last very long. The second question is, who is my favorite Young Justice hero? Okay, that is going to be a difficult one. Because, I mean, I've seen Season 1, I've seen Season 2 up to this point before they went into a hiatus, and I think that this Saturday that they're going to be starting off the second half of Season 2, Invasion. I would have to base it on both seasons. Two different seasons, two different characters, in my opinion here. First season is Robin. I like his character because, not to the fact that he's a badass teen with these gadgets. He's like a miniature Batman, only he's not. Well, technically, he's not the Cape Crusader, because Batman's had a lot of training, so to speak. I mean, he's had martial arts training. He's considered the world's greatest detective. But in a fight, Robin can hold his own. And there's that sarcastic humor that he has. I mean, I like that he can, go from being, serious. I mean, he's not brooding serious all the time. He can quip jokes. One of my favorite moments with Robin from Season 1 was the training sequence with Black Canary. They're all at the Mount Justice, I guess you could say, headquarters for the Young Justice group, and Black Canary's there to train them. And she's asking for any, volunteer to spar with her. And Kid Flash steps up. He says he's going to show everyone his moves, and then after the match, he's going to show Black Canary his moves. So basically, he's hitting on Black Canary. The match doesn't last very long. Within a few seconds, she's got him on the floor, beaten. She turns to everyone and says, "Now, what did he do wrong?" Robin steps up, says, he hit on the teacher and got served, And that embarrasses Kid Flash. You know, he looks to Robin going, dude, why did you go there? He's still on the ground. And Robin wasted no time in throwing out a sarcastic comment. I found that funny. With Season 2 Invasion, it has to be Superboy. Because he seems to have matured since Season 1. In Season 1, Connor was rather moody, so to speak. I mean, you can't really blame him for coming off as angry. Because, I mean, look at the situation he was in that season. I mean, everyone else had their own mentor to look to. Robin had Batman. Kid Flash had Flash. Artemis had Green Arrow. Let's see. Miss Martian had Martian Manhunter. But for Superboy, if he ever tried to talk to Superman, he would just get blown off. You know, Superman would go, "Oh, I've got a task I have to take care of. You know, I can't talk right now." And the big letdown of Season 1 between Superboy and Superman would be when Superboy arrived at a bridge location to save a school bus, and and Superman shows up at the scene. He's trying to save the bus, and he comes across Superboy, and after the task is taken care of, Superboy asks Superman, you know, can you give me some pointers? You know, he's looking to Superman for some moral guidance, so to speak, and Superman's still at eggs because, you know, this is rather a shock to him. It's sort of like, if I had to describe it, it would be, say for example, you slept with someone on a specific on a night, and then you don't see them for a while, and out of nowhere, you know, years later, you find out you've got a kid. You know, how exactly would you respond to that? On that sort of level, I could kind of see how Superman would feel that way, but I mean, to just blow him off that way and say, you know, I gotta go do this job, and he flies off, he doesn't even stop to think, well, I'll talk to you later on this. You know, give an indication that you're gonna, you know, attempt to, you know, give advice, but he doesn't. And I felt the resolution to that was rushed. I mean, it didn't feel like it was, you know, put as a central story. I mean, I would have loved to have had seen an episode in Season 1 where Superboy and Superman, they come to terms with this situation that they're in, you know, and they grow, you know, both as a mentor and mentoree. But instead, it was like thrown in her lap at the last 5 minutes, to where, you know, they are cool with each other. You know, they're not at odds, and that Superman accepts him. I mean, it felt like they went at it as like, oh man, we haven't addressed this issue. We got to resolve it so that fans don't think that it's still going to carry on into, you know, the later season. Because, I mean, what if they did not resolve that, and you've got Invasion, which is set 5 years later? I would be going, okay, are they still at odds? I mean, has that temperament, you know, the friction toward each other, is that still at odds? I mean, do they hate each other? I mean, it would seem rather, what's the word, unresolved, or even less, so to speak, in addressing it, because, like I said, if they went with it like that, and then in Invasion just had them as rather buddy, friends, that'd be like fans would be going, well, what happened between those 5 years? So even though season 1 they took care of that, I still wish that they had made a specific episode for that. But with Superboy in season 2, he's not broody, and there was even a point where he confronted Miss Martian when she's abusing her power to get information against the enemy. He pulls her aside and says, that person, that foe didn't deserve to be treated that way. I mean, sure, you need to get information from them, but to go to that length to do it, it's morally unacceptable. And it seemed like that happened much earlier on, because in Invasion, that seems to be the reason why Superboy broke up with her, because in a moral aspect, this wasn't the Miss Martian that he fell in love with in season 1. She's become a completely different person, so to speak. I also like Nightwing. He sort of dropped the sarcastic humor. He's more grounded as a serious character, as a leader who is giving out a mission. So that's another character in mind that I like. And here's hoping that they do more with Wonder Girl. I don't know much about her, and I do know that she has a romantic history with Superboy, so I would definitely like to see that, relationship start, where they interact with each other, they grow both as characters, and that relationship starts, hopefully by the end of Invasion. And assuming if we get a season 3, it goes a little bit further with more characters. But yeah, those are the characters that I like on Young Justice. I mean, I like all the characters, but those are the ones that stand out the most to me. And next is the Wall 200. He asked me, what do I think of Storm Sync now? From a then to now timeline. Okay, this is going to be rather elaborate, and no punches holded here. I mean, there's not going to be any pulled punches here. To use the metaphor, the gloves are coming off. I mean, in the past, when it came to Storm Sync, I've been nice about it, but given the recent events, yeah, Mr. Nice Guy is out the door. I'm not holding back my opinion. I'm not sugarcoating my personal point of view of Storm Sync. So here goes for a timeline, and I'm well aware that Storm Sync is watching this, because I know you resub to me again. I know it's not because you want to watch my videos on the basis of that you think that they're good or might be good. You resubbed because you want to see if I talk bad about you. You're hung up on me for some reason. Okay, let's get started with Wall's question here in a minute. All right, starting from the beginning with Storm Sync, it's not hard to agree with Zam 10,000 EE, where he said right off the bat in the early days of Storm Sync on YouTube that he wasn't real. I mean, in the sense that he was going for a corporate, a company style. Meaning the t-shirt, the StormSync t-shirt, he was trying to make himself as his own kind of product, so to speak. I didn't pick that up right away. When I first started watching StormSync's videos, I felt that they were pretty good. He would do rant videos and bash on things like Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, Transformers, things like that. I mean, when he had a basic web camera, or a webcam, so to speak. Early on in those videos, I enjoyed watching them. I felt that they were pretty good. But, then when he got partnership, I felt, good for you, StormSync. He earned it. But then came the website. And that's when, in my personal opinion, StormSync started to take a nosedive. Because looking at it back then, I believed what he said in his point of view, which was he did the website because he needed it as a backup since he had a partnership. That in that time and age, I don't know if it has changed, but his explanation was, if he put the content, video clips or not, or animation like Dragon Ball, that his videos could get flagged or taken down automatically by YouTube, and if enough strikes were given against him, then he would lose his channel, lose all of his videos. So he was like, I've got these on my website as a backup, so that if you want to see them, you can. Now he could be telling the truth there, but then the idea of the website sort of changed. I mean, he started putting promo videos out, and people were complaining, saying, stop with the promos, just put the videos on YouTube. And then came the infamous, Are You Happy Now video. And I said in the podcast earlier this week, it hasn't been released yet, I believe, that if anyone had a reason to be pissed off, it's his wife. I mean, she's the person who busted her rear end to make the website. StormSync never created the website. His wife made it for him, and then he uploaded the videos on there. And in my personal opinion, in regards to that website, I'm in full support of SSJ Goshen's point of view. What she said, she makes a lot of sense in her description of how the website should have been handled, which is StormSync should have first created the video, and then at the end of the video have a description of, if you want a more descriptive video, a video with more content, then you can see it at my website. Have the website video different with the the video clips, stuff that would raise question of copyright material on YouTube. Do it like that. That's a brilliant point of view, Then of course improve the website content-wise, by the layouts. StormSync didn't do that. Then of course he got his partnership removed by YouTube because he wasn't following up to what the guidelines were. And in fact, I believe Zam even pointed out that StormSync was even trying to advise people to click on a link like or an ad, so to speak. That's a big no-no for the partnership. You can't ask people to click on an ad for you. I've got partnership on YouTube here, and I haven't reached to the point where I would make money. To me, going with the money route, yeah, sure, I would love to make money from my partnership, but to me, content, and putting out good quality material, that to me is number one. Satisfying the viewers, my subscribers, keeping them happy, that's number one. Okay, number two, making some money on the side, because there's no way in hell that I'm going to depend on partnership to make a living. No, you can't do that. Not unless you're Ray William Johnson, somebody like that, who's basically raking in money that way. No. So yeah, the big thing for me is making sure that my subs are happy, that I'm respectful to them. If they have any requests, I do them. Assuming that they're appropriate, and putting out videos that are lengthwise. I'm not big on doing videos that are 2 or 3 minutes long. It's just not me. I like to elaborate on what I'm doing here. Okay, but getting back into the topic of StormSync here. He lost his partnership. Then, of course, he tried to play it off that he learned his lesson, that he said fans were saying stop doing promo videos, and that he started putting out videos on YouTube. No. The reason why he was putting videos on YouTube was because he already lost his partnership. People weren't going to his website, and so I figured, why even bother with the website? So just go back to YouTube. That's how I interpret how StormSync handled it. And going back to Are You Happy Now video, basically saying F you to his subscribers, giving them the middle finger, and still not apologizing for that. I'm surprised he still has some subscribers. He hasn't apologized for that. Then comes the video where he bashed What Pisses Me Off 710, more specifically his wife. But wait, correction, going back, I forgot the Dragon Ball protest. That was the first correction. That was the first thing that happened before the Are You Happy Now video. Because based on what Jinx 5150 said, his explanation here is that he was going to do a Dragon Ball protest, which is basically protesting Dragon Ball Evolution. And he asked StormSync, hey, will you do some videos on the channel with me, protest Dragon Ball Evolution? First he said, yeah, I'll do it. Then he backed away from it and said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I can see why Jinx would be, at odds. I'm not sure, I'm not interpreting anything of what Jinx is saying here, just trying to picture, the reaction. I mean, I'm sure he would be very upset and pissed off with StormSync for going from I'll do it to no, screw you, I'm not going to do the protest channel, and decide to support Evolution. That's a contradiction, because if anyone has seen early videos of Evolution, the updates. More specifically, the video with Spudball, his friend Spudball, talking about Evolution, and Stormsinks is in the background. Oh, no, excuse me, not background. He's off camera. And this is hilarious how Stormsink said it, which was, that's not Piccolo. He's fucking white. Piccolo's not that pale. Those were Stormsink's exact words. He was hating on Evolution. Then the movie came out, and Stormsink said he liked the movie. He thought Justin Chapman did a great job as Goku. No, he didn't. Not even close to acting like Goku. And I'm still asking myself when it comes to Evolution, why the hell did I stay in the theater to see it? I mean, I still remember to this day, I will never, ever forget that feeling of in the auditorium theater with the opening of Evolution. You've got the fiery background, you've got Ozaru in the background, you've got the narration of the past history in the movie of what happened before the movie started. And me being a diehard fan of Dragon Ball, I have all the manga, I got the anime, I'm currently up to the Cell Saga of Kai. I'm loving Kai. I have not even gone back to watching the Funimation dub. I doubt I ever will. Not even for the Buu Saga of Funimation. And when I was watching the opening for that film, I've already addressed this, but I'll say it again. I felt every nerve in my body telling me, get your ass out of the seat, leave the theater, don't watch this film. And it took every bit of willpower to not get up, and to now, I still believe the only reason why I stuck around was for my friend, because my friend hadn't even heard. I mean, my friend is a fan of Dragon Ball. I introduced him to the anime, and years ago, and he wanted to see the film. It had been a couple of months since we hung out, so I said, "Sure, let's go see it." And I didn't have the heart to tell him, I wouldn't. Let's go, So I stuck through that film, and of course, in his review, Stormsink was saying, you guys protested against the film. You made your opinion known, but the movie's going to make its money back, or something along the lines of saying it's already made its money back, and a sequel is going to happen. And now Stormsink is saying, in regards to Evolution, that he knows that it is bad, but he still likes it. He can't admit that he's flip-flopping. I mean, there's the phrase of, well, not phrase, but there's admitting that you're wrong on something, saying, back then I said I liked the film, but looking at it now, I can see it's terrible, and I was wrong. I'm in that way of thinking when it comes to Twilight, because back then, I don't know what I was thinking, what appeal Twilight could have possibly had. I don't know. Maybe it was the movie. I mean, the movie interpretation looked appealing, and then it came to the novels, and regretfully reading them, and not seeing the points that people were making then, saying, you know, it's an insult to, you know, Bella is an insult to women and sparkly vampires and all that, you know, then talking to people over in debates. I mean, my thanks has to go to Zam for bringing me to my senses here and saying, well, Twilight, it is terrible. It, you know, the flaws that it has and it does have, and I acknowledge them, pointed out that, hey, I was wrong to like this, and Stephenie Meyers is a terrible author. Stormsink, in regards to evolution, he's not doing that. He's going with the analogy that it's so bad that it's good. And I really don't see why he can like evolution. I mean, if he is indeed as big a fan of Dragon Ball as I am, because I've got T-shirts, I've got posters, I've got the manga, I've got the anime figurines. Well, not a lot of figurines. Nowhere even close to SS Goshen. Nowhere. She's got far more figures. I mean, I don't even come close to a third of what she has. But, like I said, I'm a huge fan. And if Stormsink is, then why can't he look at it as like, well, here's what the source material is showing us. This is what evolution gave us. Why he can't see the turn-off and insult it is to the source material. And thank God the sequel was canned. It was dropped, I don't know how many years ago. And, you know, then of course, you know, back to, you know, after Stormsink lost his partnership and him insulting What Pisses Me Off 710's wife. At that point, that's when I opened my eyes and really saw what people were saying and their points that they were making with Stormsink, which was because, you know, me, I mean, I consider myself a nice guy. I'm an old school gentleman when it comes to, you know, women in general, you know. And you know, one thing I know is that if you have a disagreement with somebody and you throw their wife into the mix when they don't have anything to do with it, that is just asking to get your ass kicked. I mean, I watched his video where he was basically mocking how Lisa, What Pisses Me Off 710 did his style of videos of, you know, they're titled What Pisses Me Off, and he'll say this subject and then pisses me off, and he has it in black and white and up close, and Stormsink mocked that, and then he made fun of John's wife, and that set me off right there, going, okay, you know what, I can't support Stormsink after he did that. That was when I first did a video calling him out, saying, what the hell are you thinking? What? Why are you talking about John's wife that way, saying that she looks like he's, what, 80 years old? And then it came to his comic book, Tales of the Seashell, which I didn't know much about. I didn't know much about it. I watched it before I even did a video in regards of the labor of love. I watched his video and paid close attention, and I'm thinking like, okay, what is the relevance of this point? Why is there a seashell involved? Because Stormsink did not even mention, you know, the title of it, which says Tales of the Seashell. What is the point of the seashell? Is it magical? Is it some kind of a weapon? Is it going to save humanity? What? That's what I was specifically asking, as well as many other questions that I was asking in the video, and I was civil and nice about it. And then, of course, Stormsync went into the fact that I gave him constructive criticism, and forget the fact that I was nice about it and wasn't harsh. He was rather insulted by that, and the fact that I questioned his comic and put him on the spot, as Jinx would say. He got defensive, attacked me personally. I still believe to this day that when he did that video, that he was trying to not only humiliate me, but try to shut me up, because I was actually challenging him, making points. And with the history with Stormsync, he's a sad person, specifically because he doesn't like people who tell him the truth. If you challenge him on something, he thinks that you're attacking him. Like this most recent fail with Stormsync, which is the Orlando Comic Expo, where, thanks to the Wall 200 for informing me on this, bravo there. He informed me through Skype that Stormsync spent $1,000 to, I guess, get a booth or a table or a spot. I don't know at all about expos, but he blew $1,000 for it, and nobody even went to his comic book, to view it, to buy it, whatnot. And I gave him some honest feedback, which was, his explanation was the reason why nobody went to his booth, his table, to check out his comic was because there was Marvel comics were there, DC comics were there. People were going to events like those instead of his, basically blaming their success, so to speak. And I put it to him in this mindset, which this point of view, is that Marvel and DC, they've built up their company over many decades with popular comic book titles. You have only put out this comic book, about 3 issues, so to speak, over a couple of months, which for the most part, he does not do the work himself. I mean, from my understanding, I believe the only thing he does with the comic book is the cover, and I believe the writing. And that's it. The art is done by Andrew, which he pays to do it. And I told him in this, direct point of view, you've only had this comic book out for a couple of months. What could possibly make you think that people would be lined up to look at your comic book? It's only been a couple of months at all. It's not like you've been doing this for, 5-10 years? Only a couple of months. Did he assume that the fact that he made a Facebook page, he did merchandise, and now one of his friends says that they're going to make a video game based on it? This is exactly what me and other people have been saying about this comic book. It's not a labor of love. He's trying to do it as a business perspective. And he doesn't even have a target audience. He doesn't have a foundation for it. This is what Marvel and DC did. They didn't rush it. Stormsync is trying to rush it all at once. He's trying to do it in one fell swoop. Comic book companies, they build up their audience and their company over, each decade, each year. They don't put a comic book out and then assume it's going to get them, worldwide recognition. It's not. And I said this to him politely, that my advice for him is that he should scrap the comic book, cut his losses before he loses even more money. And his response to that was, he messaged me on YouTube. He sent me a personal message saying that he's tired of me insulting him, and that he's going to block me and move on. Yeah, blocking me and then subscribing to my channel. Yeah, that's moving on, Stormsync. No, it's not. It shows that you're overly sensitive. You can't handle constructive criticism. If anyone questions you, then you assume that they're against you. Did it ever come to your mind, to your point of, your thinking, that people are trying to help you, to show you, hey, you're going in the wrong direction, you're viewing this the wrong way, because, think of it in this point of view. An episode of Home Improvement comes to mind. The episode in specific that I'm going here with is Al Borland. I don't know what season it's from, but he creates a Tool Time board game, and I believe he invests all of his money into it. I mean, he has a ton of games built, and he's got several phones lined up for people to call in to buy the game, and he hasn't even tested it out. So he gives a board game to his friend and boss, Tim Taylor. It's like, here's one on the house for free, as friends, test it out. So Tim takes it home. His family tests out the game, and it fails. I mean, a mechanism in the game malfunctions, and a fire ensues on the game. My guess, it was faulty wiring. So this type of thing, it has Tim and his family thinking, okay, we've got to let Al know about this. And in the end, they end up fixing all the games so that Al does not suffer a huge loss, so to speak. This is basically the point I'm making, is that, Al, even though you've got this idea, but you're not listening to people. You don't have a foundation, so to speak. So here, me and other people are being honest and telling you it doesn't work. It's not original. The writing is terrible. And based on reviews, my personal opinion in that aspect of the comic book, not just simply the fact that it sucks, but that Stormsync only relies on his inner circle, which is his brother, Filmmaster Adam from Web of Cinema, some other friends, to review it, and they say they like it. The only person who has been unbiased is that dude with the beard, and he said some nice things about it, but overall it doesn't work. I mean, what is it going to take for you to think, this is not a good idea? My personal opinion on this, in the comic book, I do believe you should give it up. I'm not saying give up on comic books, period. I said this in the podcast, is that I believe you should scrap the comic book, take some art classes, at a college, brush up on the art, because you can improve your art skill. Okay, if you hired Andrew to draw the comic book because you felt that your art is terrible, you would get more enjoyment out of your product if you did it yourself. Okay, after you take a couple of art classes and have improved your art skill, then do the comic book yourself. Script it, draw it, ink it, color it, do it all yourself, and then present it to a comic book company, and if they like it, you can draw comic books for a living. Because we've heard your complaint about Walmart in the past, because you feel like you're in a dead-end job. You're not getting it anywhere with Walmart. Since you're not happy with Walmart, take up education. Improve your life that way. If your wife doesn't have a part-time job, she could get one while you're taking art classes, so that way you won't fall behind on bills. And that way, when you do land that job to where you can easily not only pay bills, because based on what I've heard is that you're struggling with bills. It's not easy for you. That if this is why you're doing this, to have a quick fix to resolve your money troubles, then it's not the way to go, because it's not showing your love for the industry, that it's specifically greed motivated, that you're doing it just for money. And people do things for money. I know they do careers for money, for things that they love, but here it doesn't look like you're doing it because you love this product that you thought up. It's telling everyone you're trying to make a quick buck. That's my overall point of view, is that you can't take criticism. I learned many years ago that when someone puts forth constructive criticism, because I myself in the past, I've been nice to you in regards. I have not been harsh, but I'm very close to scrapping the being nice, being the Mr. Nice Guy toward you. I'm at that point where I'm saying to hell with it, and I'm going to be brutally honest from now on with you. And if your feelings get hurt, so be it. Okay, because I've been straight with you in feedback, and instead of you saying yes, I'll take it, or no, I don't, because I have this viewpoint, you could say you disagree in that point, but no, you're coming off like you're hurt, that I have some kind of vendetta against you, that a personal issue toward you. No, I don't. I haven't. Like I've said before, the only person that seems to be hurt by this is you. And the history proves that. Look at before you made Partnership and did the website, your view count was a couple thousand within a week. Now it's dropping. Every time you do something controversial, your view count drops. When you did your Are You Happy Now video, subs left. You lost about 20 subs during the Dragon Ball protest thing. You lost subs when you attacked John, and you lost a hefty amount of subs when you personally attacked me, which in that aspect, after I, in my personal opinion, at that point, I was gonna let it go. I wasn't gonna say anything, but then I was like, you know what, that's not cool. Personally attacking me like that way. I'm like, you know what, Stormsync doesn't know all the facts, so I'll present facts to him. And soon after that, there were people making videos in support for me, which I, fully support. I salute to, the Wall 200, that dude with the beard, and anyone else who showed their support in defense to me, which I never even asked to, and I appreciate for the, support there. I acknowledge, that, hey, they viewed it as wrong. They didn't feel that it was right, just like how I defended what pissed me off for him being attacked and his wife being attacked. A return here. Now I was being defended, but here it's the revolving door in this issue of Stormsync, is that whenever someone points out something to him that he's wrong on, he takes it as an attack. And then of course there's the issue of people defending him. Now I don't outright believe he has supporters defending him, because, well, we know for a fact that Stormsync has multiple usernames. The Stormsync Lapdog, the Not Robert Storms, and there was another one within, I believe that was posted yesterday. I don't recall the exact username, but it was a personal attack against me, mocking my username, claiming that I, quote, stutter, which is bull. I do not stutter. And yeah, I'm 100% convinced that that was Stormsync. So you cannot fool me, Stormsync, that you've got people backing you up in that fashion. I mean, I've never outright attacked you, but if you ever do anything controversial, yeah, I'm going to point you out on that. I'm going to call you out. And another thing before I wrap up this topic of Stormsync, is his rap video, or excuse me, music video. I noticed that when he put it up, much like how his comic book made no sense, the music video didn't make any sense at all. You've got a guy on there named Mighty, and the song is called Closer to My Dream. And the visual looked terrible. The visuals looked god-awful terrible. There is no theme of the song, because technically songs, they're supposed to have a connection with the title. When I read back when the video was still up, when I read the Closer to Your Dream, I thought to myself, okay, the song, the title says Closer to a Dream, it's going to be uplifting. It wasn't. The guy in the video, half the time he looked depressed. He was throwing hand gestures. You couldn't make half the words that he was saying in the song. The only thing that really connected with the title of the song was, you had to go for your dream, or something to that extent. And then, of course, the thing that offended me with the video was the N-word in there. And I believe that was the main reason why the video is no longer on there, is because people probably complained about the N-word being used in there. I don't care if you're Hispanic, white, Asian, black. No. nobody should say the N-word. It's a word of hate. It pertains to slavery. It's not cool. It's not funny. So the fact that that was in the video really offended me greatly. And I was gonna actually say something about it, but then the next day the video was taken down. So yeah, I mean, and I'm curious to know the specific reason for the video being taken down. Maybe StormSync thought it was terrible, or maybe, like I said before, some people were probably complaining about the N-word being in the video. Who knows? But that's pretty much wraps up this topic on StormSync. So I hope the Wall 200 and other people enjoyed that very long topic on StormSync. And let's see. Next is what pisses me off 710. Let's see. His first question for me is, what is my favorite horror movie? Now, I have a lot of favorite franchises that I enjoy. But, let's see. My all-time favorite has got to be Jaws. You know, some people would probably go with Halloween, you know, John Carpenter's Halloween, or The Thing. Those are definitely favorites of mine, but my all-time, without a doubt, is Jaws. It doesn't result or depend on gore, on jump scares. In fact, it's a PG film. You know, it can fall into any category: horror, action, drama, and it doesn't, you know, like I said, it doesn't result in kills. You know, like long, you know, high body count, a lot of blood. None of that. Most of it revolves around the imagination. You don't see the shark for about half of the film at all. You know, it's left up to our imagination what's happening below the surface of the water. And it's got a good climax, though. I've heard that the ending doesn't make any sense. Like, according to Peter Benchley, you know, he said to Steven Spielberg that a shark would not be biting down on a air tank. You know, they wouldn't do that. I don't know a lot about sharks, but I know basic information. But I don't think a shark would be biting down on top of a air tank. But, you know, Spielberg's, you know, response was he doesn't care if it makes sense. You know, if he's got them, if he has the audience, you know, pulled in to, you know, up to that moment, you know, then, you know, it doesn't matter. And it was a good climax, the "smile, you son of a bitch," and then boom, the shark blows up. And you know, it's the film that, you know, coined the phrase summer blockbuster, and it's, you know, known for its, you know, theme by John Williams. You know, it's a classic, you know, and for anyone who does not already own the Blu-ray version, you know, I recommend you check it out or buy it, because I've seen this film hundreds and hundreds of times, from VHS to DVD and now on Blu-ray. and I love it, and I never get tired of seeing it. I mean, I know the lines by heart. That's how much of a fan I am of this film. And none of the other films will ever live up to this. I mean, the closest would be Jaws 2, but that film feels more like a carbon copy or a remake, because it tries to rely too much on the first film. So yeah, that is my favorite horror film. Let's see. What is my favorite Dexter season? Now that's I've enjoyed the first 6 seasons of Dexter. I'm looking forward to season 7, but I would have to say that season 4, without a doubt, season 4 is my all-time favorite season so far. If season 7 goes in the direction I think it's going to go, based on bits and pieces of information I've heard from, what layouts of episodes that they're going to go with, it could either top season 4 or match it even. The reason why I enjoy season 4 is it's putting Dexter in a new environment. I mean, before season 4, Dexter's lifestyle was he was on his own, and he was dating Rita, and he was attached to her kids. He enjoyed spending time with Cody and Astor, and then it evolved to him being a family man, finding out that in season 3 Rita was pregnant with his child, and he was questioning whether he could be a good father based on him being a serial killer, that he was concerned that he would pass that on to his child if he stuck around. And he ended up sticking with Rita. He asked her to marry him. They got married at the end of season 3, and then it showed us that the lifestyle that he was going through, that instead of living in his apartment, he was living in a house with Rita and the kids, and he wasn't getting much sleep because of his newborn son, and he was having sleep deprivation, falling asleep off and on during the day. It was affecting his job. And then enters in the Trinity Killer, played by John Lithgow. And up to that point, and even now, John Lithgow not only was a brilliant serial killer. I mean, I loved his backstory. I mean, other killers that were the main villains on the show, you didn't really get a huge backstory with the character. I mean, they would give the elaborate or semi-elaborate explanation of they turned out this way because of this near the end. Here, it was Dexter interacting with Trinity, Arthur Mitchell as the name that he went by, and he was trying to learn from him. First he was content on just tracking him down and killing him, but then he found out that he was a family man, and he was having trouble with his family, so he figured, I'll hold off on offing him, because maybe I can learn something from him on how to be a good husband, a good father. And somewhere in the middle of the season, we get the backstory of Trinity, of how he turned out who he was. That he was somewhat of a victim, so to speak. That, that it all started with, his older sister dying. When he apparently he walked in her in the bathroom when he was a child and saw her in the shower. She caught a glimpse of him. She got shocked, by seeing him standing there, and bumped, I guess, into the glass. It broke. It cut her leg. She bled out. His father blamed him for it, called him a pervert. His father abused their mother, or his mother, so to speak. He hated his father, killed his father, and this is what started the chain reaction, so to speak, of the kills. That he was called the Trinity Killer because he was killing in threes, and then it was introduced that no, he's not a Trinity. He doesn't kill in threes. There was a fourth kill that starts it off, and we were introduced to his daughter as a subplot, and the lack of respect he has for her, and it all ties up into a shocking ending, which I don't want to spoil it for anyone. It was a huge shocker that it had me thinking for many, many months, like, how are they going to continue on after this? I mean, what is this going to affect the characters? I mean, that that was a huge, surprise ending to me, because typically in shows they tend to, when it comes to the finale or season finale, they tend to set up the cliffhangers throughout the episode. Here, and I didn't pick up on any cliffhangers during the episode, and it completely, left my train of thought. I forgot about their, so to speak, being a finale, and I'm just taking the whole episode in, and then the ending comes, and I'm blown away, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, I can't believe they pulled that they showed us that. And then of course you've got season 6, which I'm looking forward to Sunday's episode and how they go from there. So if season 7 goes the way I think it's going to be going, it's going to either tie with 4 or go beyond it, succeed it. So that, to me, is my favorite season, without a doubt, season 4. And his third question: who is my favorite YouTuber? That's a hard one to answer. I mean, to have a specific one favorite YouTuber. There's a lot of people I like viewing on YouTube. Neo GameSpark. I've been watching his videos over the past year or so. Like his updates. He throws in humor for mocking, for example, Final Fantasy X-2, the singing. My God, I mean, that's brave of Neo to do that skit of, you're singing that opening song, and then you've got the interpretation of other characters feeling, confused, disgusted. You've got Vegeta with the big eyes going, like from the screen capture from the Son Goku and his friends return. That was humorous, and these other characters looking at Neo in disgust, going, "The hell?" And, I thought that was rather funny to poke fun at the Final Fantasy franchise. I also like Spoonie's videos, but technically he doesn't do his videos on YouTube. Same with Nostalgia Critic. I've seen a good number of his videos on YouTube. Granted, they're not done. I mean, they're his videos, but they're not uploaded by him. I mean, they're reviewers I like. But yeah, I mean, there's Pathogeo Freed. He gives great words of wisdom and his points of views. You know, even when it comes to criticizing people. You know, and giving reviews. You know, I like his videos. So there's not specifically one YouTuber that I like. I mean, I like Zam's videos, Neo's videos, Pathogeo Free's videos, Wall 200's videos. You know, you can't really pick one over the other. So I hope that's a satisfactory answer for you. What pisses me off, 710. And let's see. Finally, Neo GameSpark. His question to me is, let's see. First one. In regards to the next generation of video games with Wii U, PS4, and Xbox successor, what would you like to see? You know, what franchise do they own that I would like to see make a return? See, there's a couple. I mean, this would fall in remakes, so to speak. I would like to see Mega Man redone, no, more in a new gen type. I mean, I'm not talking about the Mega Man 9 and 10 to where it's in the classic NES format. I mean, have the side-scroller style done, only with a more modern feel to it. I would also like to see Back to the Future done, more specifically an open world style of a game. I mean, if you've played the Back to the Future 2 and 3, where you're in the DeLorean and you enter in a timeline, you know, a date, and go there, I would like to see that done in a modern aspect, to where it's based on the game. I mean, I loved the Telltale's game of Back to the Future. I liked, you know, but it wasn't open world. It was specifically episode based. I would like to see it done in the movie format, like the first Back to the Future, Back to the Future 2, you know, in that element. But more specifically Back to the Future 2, but more of its own original story, to where you want to go to a different timeline, enter in that any timeline, whether it be the past or the future, and go there, and you interact with a event that you have to fix, given your family, like the McFly family against the Tanner family, something like that. And maybe even remake, you know, redo Legend of Zelda, or maybe make another Duck Hunt game. I always enjoyed that game when it was for the Nintendo Entertainment System, when it came with Super Mario Brothers, and you would have the Nintendo Zapper to shoot the ducks when they would fly up out of the grass. So, you know, sort of in that aspect of, you know, redoing the classic franchises from those consoles and present them to the new generation in that format to improve upon them, so that there's more of an open aspect to the game, instead of it being going from point A to point B. Let's see. Next one is, what are your top 5 favorite and top least favorite comic book movies? I hope that's asking which comic book films I like and which ones I hate. I hope that's the route you were going with, Neo. And here it is, all written down. First, the ones that I enjoy. The Avengers. You know, I picked it up on Blu-ray earlier this week. Loved that film when I saw it in theaters. I've gone through the special features, and I haven't got to the commentary with Joss Whedon. The Amazing Spider-Man. I can't wait for that one to come out in November. I loved it in theaters. It's my all-time favorite Spider-Man film. The Dark Knight. You know, not Dark Knight Rises, no. No, I'm talking about the second Nolan film. You know, Hugh Ledger did a great performance as the Joker, and Two-Face was menacing. I love the theme of it, which was, you know, is there a step that you know, is there a path that you will not cross, so to speak? I mean, can anyone cross that line and commit murder? You know, like what Harvey Dent said. You know, he either live long, you either die being the hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I believe that's the quote he said. Another one is The Crow. You know, it's an iconic film with Brandon Lee. And my 5th one would be Guyver 2: Dark Hero, based off the manga of the Guyver. It has David Hayter, the main actor, playing Sean Baker, who is, I guess you could say, the American version of Sho Fukamachi. You know, it was more faithful to the manga. It wasn't exactly like the manga, but it had, you know, bits and pieces and little elements that made the film enjoyable to watch. I mean, I can't really ever go back and see the first Guyver film. That's too comical, in my opinion. Can't be taken seriously. Let's see. On to the 5 films I hate. Any of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. Basically, the Spider-Man trilogy. Batman and Robin. Oh yeah. I don't need to go into detail of why that film is bad. Superman 2. Now, before people, you know, jump on me and say, how can you hate Superman 2? It's a good film. No. I'm talking about Richard Lester's version. Because I love the Richard Donner director's cut of Superman 2. The reason why I don't like the Richard Lester version, the Richard Lester version of Superman 2 is because, well, I didn't like the fact that Lois was putting herself in danger, you know, on purpose to try to out Clark as Superman. Like, you know, they're at the Niagara Falls. There's a lot of faults with the film in that aspect. You know, they're there, and there's a kid hanging over the railing, and the kids aren't paying. I mean, excuse me, the parents aren't paying attention, and he's fooling around, and I'm going, why aren't the parents paying attention? You know, the only person that seemed to show any concern is Clark. You know. He's trying to. He's like, hey, son, don't go on there. You know, get away. He's trying to divert him or try to get someone's attention to get the kid back over on the other side and not risk falling. Of course, he falls over the edge. Then there's, in that same scene, Lois, she removes Clark's glasses, and there are people around, they're not even looking in his direction. You know, all you had to do was look up and bam, you know, secret identity spoiled right there. No more. And let's not forget the reveal of, you know, of Lois finding out about Clark, is that, you know, he trips over a bear rug and, you know, his hand falls into the fireplace, and he's trying to play off that he's fine, you know, and Lois is her explanation is that he wasn't thinking with his head, he was thinking with his heart. What? And the biggest insult of the film, the Lester version, is the Fortress of Solitude. Specifically, Lois saying that she'll get into something more comfortable, and they have sex. I mean, when I saw that film as a kid, I thought to myself that I didn't even think of it as sex at all. In fact, I didn't even know that they had sex at that point. I mean, I was thinking, oh, they're taking a nap, you know, they're sleeping. They're, you know, they're just sharing a bed. I didn't think anything of it at that time. A lot of faults with that. I mean, specifically Lois putting herself in danger to try to out Clark as Superman. I mean, to me, but I mean, it's those faults with Superman 2, but more importantly, behind the scenes, that is a bigger reason that I don't like the film. Is because, you know, anyone who's seen the films and know the history is that Richard Donner was hired on to film 2 films, you know, back to back, and before he could even finish Superman 2, the Salkinds fired him. I mean, and it was the most insulting way, which is, I believe it was after Christmas break, or, you know, Richard Donner went back to his home for, I believe, for the holidays. I'm not entirely sure, to take a short break after the first film was released, and he was going to go back to continue on with Superman 2, and the Salkinds sent him a letter saying, you know, you are no longer needed, and they specifically replaced him with Lester, which really pissed me off, and I can no longer ever see the Lester version of Superman 2 because of that how they screwed Donner over. And even though I own the entire Superman collection, the 2006 release, I have not even popped in the Superman 2 DVD. The only Superman 2 version I will watch is Donner's cut. Okay, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Yeah. Terrible film. You've got a rival love interest for Clark Kent, who she's trying to make a pass at him. I mean, I can't recall the exact events of the film, you know, scene for scene, so to speak. I mean, I recall what happened. You know, there's the Nuclear Man with Gene Hackman with the voice, and the fact that this villain has a suit the minute it's created. I mean, wouldn't the character be naked? I mean, and I mean, I know that breaking the whole, it's doing a censorship style of having a suit on it, because if the character showed up naked, that wouldn't be a family film. It lacks that kind of logic, and terrible special effects. And of course, back to the character that's trying to seduce Clark in some aspect, that she calls him into his office one day, and she's sitting on top of the desk, and she's looking all provocative with her leg up, and Clark enters in the room, and she immediately tries to flirt with him, and she almost reveals his identity by she asks him, "Have you ever thought about wearing contacts?" And she's trying to take his glasses off, and Clark, Christopher Reeve, meekly, he turns away like he's trying to prevent her from taking his glasses off. It's, no, they hurt my eyes. I like that humorous part. I mean, that's one positive little thing I can say about the film, but the theme of, you've got weapons of mass destruction, and the naive thing of, well, Superman goes into the UN and says, you know what, I'm going to get rid of all of the nuclear weapons, and all of the world leaders, they agree with him. A lot different from these days with what's happening overseas. It's that realistic, non-realistic aspect. I mean, yeah, Superman gets rid of the weapons, but when the movie's over, we still have nuclear weapons. Those reasons are why I hate the film. Terrible. I can't even watch it again. And there's also that special effect or superpower, which I can't wrap my head around. It's when Superman, and if anyone can tell me this, is Superman, he's going after Nuclear Man, and he's repairing all the damage that's going on around the world. He comes, I believe it's the Great Wall of China, I'm not entirely sure. Superman stands, in front of it, he looks up, and just by looking at it, the wall, the bricks, stack up again, like it's being repaired in reverse. Just looks at it and it's repaired. I'm like, what? Is Superman a telepathic? Is that a new power, or did he use super speed to fix it? I don't know. You tell me. That's pretty much it here for this video. Don't know when I'll do another Q&A, but I enjoyed making this video. I appreciate everyone who sent in questions to me. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'm out.